Hey guys, Tyler Berger here with Bass Fishing HQ. Today I want to talk about the best bass lures for the entire summer. If you guys aren't throwing these lures, you're going to be missing out. So stay tuned, it's going to be a good one. Guys, we are slowly approaching 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm somewhere just below 19,000 right now. I think we'll hit 25,000 within the next couple of months, and I want to try to get there as fast as possible. I'm doing a giveaway when we hit 25,000 subscribers, and I'm giving away an Akuma Helios SX reel. Guys, this is their top of the line bass reel. It's one of my favorites, an 8 1-to-1 gear ratio, 11 ball bearings. It's an awesome reel. It's a reel that I've been using a lot this year. I'm really excited about it, but not only am I giving that away, but I'm going to be giving away 5 hats as well. In order for you guys to win one of these items, it's simple. You just have to be subscribed to the Bass Fishing HQ channel, and also down below in the description, there's a link. If you click on that link, you're simply gonna put in your name and your email information. That way I can reach you guys when we hit 25,000 subscribers. So simply put your name and email in there, subscribe to the channel, and you're gonna be entered in a chance to win a reel or one of these bass hats. I'm really looking forward to doing that. All right, guys, so let's get into the video. Today I'm talking about the best bass lures to use during the summer. Now, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought about doing a top 3 lures. I thought about doing a top 5 lures. And similar to what I did in the spring, if you guys think about it, the summertime is really kind of a longer period of time. I'm talking typically about 3 months, and there's a lot of changes that happen. Even though the summer is typically pretty hot and pretty stable at being hot, there's a lot of changes that happen when it comes to pressure that is put on the bass, as well as a number of other things. I decided that I'm going to divide up the summer basically into 3 different phases. So you have the early summer, you have mid-summer, and you have late summer. Those are the 3 different phases that happen during the summer, and in each of those phases, I'm gonna use different lures to attack bass, guys. And so today, I'm gonna give you 3 lures for each one of those phases. So let's go ahead, let's get right into the lures. All right, so the first period is that early summer time frame, and a lot of the country is hitting this early section right now. Guys, this is kind of the time of the year where bass are first starting to push out deep. They're making their way off of their beds. They're starting to push out to deep water. When they get to these first deep water areas, it just seems like bass are typically fairly aggressive when they get in those situations. So the first lure that I'm going to pick up is a deep diving crankbait. This is the best time of the year to fish a deep diving crankbait. Like I said, the bass seem to be fairly aggressive when they first start to move out to offshore structure, when they're getting off to ledges and humps on the main lake, and just anything that is a main lake structure. Typically you can pick up a deep diving crankbait. You can cover a tremendous amount of water and actually be able to find bass that are on those ledges, those offshore structures. I love a deep diving crankbait because it tends to catch the biggest bass in a school. When you find an area that is a big school, you can catch them with a deep diving crankbait. All right, moving on to the second lure of early summer, guys, and that is a spook. A spook is, as you guys know, I love fishing a spook. I love fishing top waters in general, whether it's a frog, a popper. During this early summer time frame, this is one of the only times of the year where you can really fish a spook throughout the entire day, whether it's cloudy all day or whether it's sunny all day. It seems like during that early summer time frame, that June and just starting to get into July, guys, a spook can work throughout the entire day. Again, no matter the conditions. A spook is just a great way to imitate a bigger shad, a bigger bait fish. And a lot of times, one of my favorite places to fish a spook like this is on any kind of main lake point or even a main lake hump. If you have a point or a hump that comes up to 7 or 8 foot of water on top, This is a great place to throw a spook. Maybe there's a brush pile, a rock pile, a grass line there. A great place to throw a spook. You can also just throw a spook on the bank. You can throw it around marinas, riprap, all kinds of bank, and you're gonna catch fish on a spook. Literally, this is one of the best things to fish during that early summer time frame. All right, guys, so like I said, fish seem to be fairly aggressive during the early summer, and a big swim bait is a great lure to use. Right here, I have a glide bait. And a glide bait is a very conditional bait. You really want to have sunny and windy conditions for a glide bait to work really well. But when I say a big swim bait, guys, there's a number of big swim baits that you can use during this early summer time frame that are going to catch bass. Like a glide bait, also like a bigger boot tail plastic, soft plastic style bait, like a mag draft, like the one that I got here. This is a great time of the year to use this type of lure. Also, if you're fishing ledges during this time of the year, offshore structure, like I talked about earlier with a deep diving crankbait working well, if you guys put a bigger swim bait, a 5, 6, 7 inch swim bait on a jig head, typically like a 1 ounce jig head, a 3/4 ounce jig head, this is a great time of the year where bass are absolutely gonna bust these big swim baits on ledges. So during the early summer, those are the 3 lures that I love to use. Now let's talk about midsummer. So when it comes to midsummer, I'm talking about kind of that July, August time frame. What happens a lot of times in a lot of the lakes that you're going to fish is the bass have been hammered during that early summer time frame. Guys are throwing deep diving crankbaits, big swim baits, big topwater baits, and the bass are absolutely not only getting hammered, but they're really starting to get conditioned to those baits. During the midsummer time frame, I really like to either slow down or make the fish react. So lures that I'm going to slow down with, let's go ahead and start with the big worm. Guys, this is one of my favorite lures to fish. Literally, anytime I can fish a big worm, there's just something about casting this bait out, dragging it slow across the bottom. Whether you're fishing it in shallow water or if you're fishing it offshore, you can just simply work this bait pretty slow, and there's just nothing like that bite when it just kind of boom, boom, and just starts swimming away with it. You guys know, if you fish the big worm, that bite that I'm talking about. So a big worm is a great way. This is a Zoom old monster worm. It's a 10.5, 11 inch worm. It's a great worm that I love to use. So another way that I like to either slow down or make fish react is with a jig. If I'm fishing a jig offshore, I'm simply going to drag a jig a lot of times very slowly. Now, another thing that you can do with a jig when I'm talking about make these fish react, a lot of times I will use a heavy jig, 3/4 ounce, maybe 1 ounce, but typically that 3/4 ounce side, and you can literally stroke a jig off the bottom. Really pop it off the bottom, and this bait's gonna fly up and fall down really, really fast. It's gonna get those fish to react to it when they're kind of just sitting there. They're not in the mood to hit those crankbaits and things like that. Stroking a jig off the bottom is a great way to get those fish to commit to your bait. Now, a jig can be used also during that midsummer time frame for a lot of different applications. Maybe you're fishing it super shallow, you're flipping it around wood cover. It's a great bait to use then. Also, this is one of the best, if not the best bait to use around deeper grass lines. So if you're fishing hydrilla or milfoil or coontail, those type of grasses, guys, this is a great time to flip a jig on the outside edge of those grass lines, whether again it's hydrilla or milfoil, whatever it may be. During the midsummer time frame, flipping a jig, it's what I love to do. It's a great way to catch big fish. Now, the other bait, guys, that is a great summertime, midsummertime bait is a big flutter spoon. Guys, a big flutter spoon, kind of like the jig I talked about earlier. This is a great way to really get fish to react. When they're not hitting the big swim baits because they've seen them, the big crankbaits because they've seen them. You've seen Chris Zaldain do this, right? He's stroking a big spoon off the bottom, letting it flutter down, and this is a great way to catch giants. Giants during the midsummer time frame when it seems like they can't be caught on anything else. Another thing that you start to see during that midsummer time frame is fish will start to suspend higher off the bottom. When they first come out there, they really seem to be positioned on the bottom. You got a lot of current during that time, and that's when the crankbaits do well. Now, the fish will start to suspend in midsummer, and that spoon, when you yo-yo it off the bottom pretty high, it's gonna get 5, 6, 7, 8 foot off the bottom and start to flutter down. And you can get those fish that are actually suspended off of the bottom 3, 4, 5, 6 feet to hit that big spoon when it seems like nothing else will trigger those fish. So a big spoon is the third lure that I like to use in the midsummer time frame. So let's move on to late summer. This is gonna be towards the end of August, getting into September, guys. This tends to be a very tough time of the year. It's typically one of the hottest months out of the year, that late August, September time frame. It's a very difficult time of the year, so sometimes I like to finesse fish during that late summer time frame to really catch bass. So the first thing that I'm gonna start with is your simple drop shot worm. Whether you're fishing for smallmouth, whether you're fishing for spotted bass or largemouth, guys, even if you're fishing some of the Tennessee River lakes that have a lot of structure, a lot of big bass, a lot of times they're not gonna hit those big spoons, those big jigs, those big crankbaits during that late summer time frame. And one of the best things you can do is pick up a drop shot. Work it extremely slow. It's a very subtle lure. It's gonna help you to get bites when literally nothing else will. And again, that might be on ledges, but the same thing, this works in shallow water. It works in the mid zone. Guys, just picking up a drop shot, you can rig it nose hooked. If you're not fishing around a lot of heavy cover, maybe you're fishing around rocks for smallmouth, or you can fish it kind of Texas style around brush piles or grass lines. It's really gonna be a great bait to help you catch a lot of fish in that late summer time frame. Now, guys, again, I like to finesse fish a little bit more in that late summer time frame. And one of the best things to do is pick up a very small Kitech style swim bait. So typically I'm gonna fish this on an 1/8 ounce, maybe a 3/16, maybe a 1/4 ounce weight, a very small weight, ball-headed weight, and I'm just gonna cast this around on spinning rod and reel equipment. It's a very small presentation. It really matches some of those minnows and even some of the young of the year shad that are starting to come around during that late summer time frame that the bass really like to feed on. And again, it's just something small. It's very subtle. I like to fish those subtle baits to really help you maximize bites because, again, those bass have seen a lot of lures at that point in time. Sometimes you just have to finesse fish. So on the opposite side of finesse fishing, guys, during that late summer time frame, you typically have some of the best grass mats. There's literally nothing better than getting on a frog bite. Guys, this is really when that frog bite will start picking up in that late summer time frame, and it'll really do well throughout the fall in some of those grass mats. And you're not always fishing for numbers of fish when you're fishing this way. When you're fishing grass mats with the frog, you're typically having the better quality fish hit you. We've seen this happen in a lot of Bassmaster tournaments. During late summer last year, we saw Lee Livesey use a frog on Chickamauga to win a bass tournament, fishing really shallow, actually, which is very unique. And that's something that you see a lot kind of in that late summer, early fall. Guys start to do really well fishing extremely shallow. Even when that water is super hot, guys, sometimes those fish that are up there in that shallow water are the most active compared to the fish that have been hammered on some of those offshore schools. A frog is a great way to catch those fish. That's it. Those are the lures that you can use throughout the entire summer that are going to produce. I hope that I explained this well. I hope you understand why you have to have so many lures in your arsenal during the summer, because it's not gonna be just one bait that works throughout the entire summer. You really have to have a lot of lures. You have to be versatile to be able to catch a lot of big bass during the summer. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up below. Please comment if you have a question, and please subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.